Go! Hello, everyone. Welcome to Between Classes, the podcast made by students for students. We are really happy to be here. This is our second episode. In the last episode, we talked about cultural shocks that we had as students living in Austria and coming to Austria and experimenting. And today we're going to talk a little bit about workload and how are we dealing with it. And yeah, I'm Claudia. And this is my co-host, Sophie. And we have our very first guest here with us too, Sonia. Welcome.
Hello.
Woo.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. We are really happy to have you here.
Taking time out of your busy schedule to join us.
Yeah, but it's always fun. And I'm really excited to be a part of these things because I think they're really important, especially for the students to have some perspective.
So those of you who don't know who Sonia is our DMS class representative, and she is also, what else are you doing, Sonia?
So I'm currently, as she said, I'm working as the student representative / ambassador for the digital marketing and sales program, but I'm also a student assistant with ACE2 EU, which is a University Alliance project where I'm also serving on the student advisory board. And I've recently just taken on a new role as a international officer, essentially, for the AG Plus group, who's currently running for the ÖH elections.
Oh, wow.
See, she's very busy.
Yeah. How did you have time to come with us? We're really happy though that you're with us, but wow.
Thank you for having me. But I think it's so important to make time for these kinds of things because it's really easy to say no. And it's really easy to say, oh, I don't have time, I'm too busy. But I really believe in the importance of dedicating some time, even a small amount, to things that you're passionate about. And I'm passionate about this project and what you guys are doing here. And I'm also just passionate about other things. I mean, it's important to have hobbies, of course, whenever you're a student, because life can just become work, school, and sleep, and sometimes barely even sleep. So I think it's so important to do things that give you reasons beyond just your obligations, I guess. So that's why I'm here, is because I wanted to be.
And she was also pressured because she's my sister and said you have to come.
Fun fact for everyone, we are siblings, for those who have not learned, based on the fact that we have the same exact last name and very similar first names as well.
Basically the same person. Every time we email someone, they think it's a spam at the same or like, I mean, we don't look anything alike, so everyone doesn't assume that we're related.
Yeah.
Most of our lives has been like that.
Yeah. I usually am assumed to be the older sibling, which is always a little bit of a kick in the gut, but it's fine.
Really? Yeah. I have to admit that I didn't think you were sisters.
Based on looks,
Based
of course
on looks,
not, no.
The first time I see you guys and we talk and then you said, oh, this is my sister. And I was like, oh, okay. Nice. I mean, I think it's really wonderful that you're the two here together also, because then you can support each other also through this like change, drastic change in a country and culture. So I'm really happy for you guys.
No, I'm so thankful I get to be here with my sister. It's like we get to, we get to go through this experience together. It's like if we have questions, if we feel stressed, we can always rely on each other and ask each other for help.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thankful for you here.
Thankful that I get to be here as well. It's a really exciting opportunity, and it's nice to be surrounded by familiar faces, but it's also nice to meet new people, and the connections I've made, of course, here with Claudia and my other DMS crew, and I think it's really special to make those kinds of connections, new or old. And so
yeah, that's true. So tell us, how do you manage your time? Because you already said you're like in 3 different roles, or 3 or 4.
That's about 3.
About 3 different roles, and it's like I'm thinking, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot. So tell us a little bit of how do you manage to keep like your personal life, the study, and your work too, because you study also like full time.
Exactly.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course. So like you said, first things first, I came to Austria to be a student, and that is my biggest priority, is to make sure that I'm not sacrificing on making sure that I give enough time to study, to get homework done, to contribute to group projects. I think that that is my biggest priority, and that takes precedent over everything else. But of course, I decided to take on some new roles, and being student representative was something that came first, of course. And I just really liked the idea of getting involved, and it gave me like a reason to be very passionate. And especially with the fact that the digital marketing and sales program is so new, it felt like there was so much potential that was already there. And that's why we're here with the podcast, because you guys brought this idea to life, and now so much can happen with it. And I think it's so special to get involved with your school, which is why I decided to run for the student representative. And I'm very thankful that I got to be selected by my peers. And from there, I was able to network and get the opportunity to work as the student ambassador, where specifically I am responsible for running the DMS Instagram account, which was newly opened, of course, with us becoming the student representatives, as well as I'm running it with my deputy, Philip Mitkov, who's in our class. And also just being one of the first faces of like coordinating specifically on like campus day, like I helped with campus day and things like that. Being able to represent the DMS program in any sort of capacity outside of our class, but also coordinating events, like hopefully people will come to the picnic that we have planned at Silversee. So that's another thing that I is part of my responsibilities, is making sure that we have events that are regularly popping up so that everyone has the opportunity to bond and have time away from school to kind of get to know each other further. And then, of course, with my student assistant role at ACE2, that is probably my newest kind of unique role, where I get to do a lot of different things to serve the ACE2 project, which is a European University Alliance. There's 9 universities involved. I think that a lot of students have yet to really see anything concrete from it, because it's still in the works. It's still quite new. And so it's really exciting to be able to coordinate with my supervisors to kind of bring that European university mentality to everyone. And I guess the original question was, how do I manage? If we're going to go all the way back to the beginning,
Sticky notes.
Yeah.
Just saying, in her room, I can see there's a wall by her desk that's filled with sticky notes of everything that she needs to do, organized by color.
Oh, God.
This was a suggestion by a fellow friend / student at KUAS that helped me towards the beginning. I was really struggling. I guess that if I'm going to be completely honest, I had a really difficult time managing, especially initially when I started taking on new tasks, because as an individual, I do consider myself quite ambitious and excited, and I bring that energy at the very beginning. And then as time moves forward and the reality hits me that, okay, I've taken on responsibility, and that means dedication, consistency, showing up even when it's hard. And that can become overwhelming when you feel, just at least from your perspective, from your inside your mind, is, oh, I have obligations, I have responsibility. This is quite overwhelming, especially when you are a full-time student. And that's like the first thing that I should be caring about.
Yeah.
And so you never want to let...
study.
Yeah, exactly. I'm here to study, and I don't want to let go of my main purpose as to why I'm here. And so, of course, I got recommendations from people around me, because I had spent so much time in the past kind of relying on my brain to be the thing that remembers, and remembering when things are due, when I have meetings, things like that. I was totally comfortable with just letting my brain remember. But then at a certain point, as I got older, it gets harder, because you have more and more to take on. And
That's
so
true.
at a certain point, I needed that brain calendar to go somewhere. And I
Plus,
used...
it can be overwhelming if you have to like think of everything in your head all the, at one point. You're like, oh, I have to do this and this and this, and then you start to shut down. Like,
Exactly.
I just want to take a
can't.
nap.
Yeah.
Because I
Exactly.
can't. manage this right now.
And that happened to me, unfortunately. I got to a point where I could no longer store as much in my brain, especially because there was too much to store. And so having it somewhere like on a wall as sticky notes where you can visualize by color, or having it even as simple as like a checklist on your phone with the Notes app, whatever you have available to you, or you can use planner apps, calendar apps. I'm really grateful for the Studo app because that really helps me to have like a pre-planned calendar for my classes so that I can even add in extra events if I felt like, okay, I need to see this in my calendar. This can't just be something on a checklist, especially in like a long-term format where I'm like, oh, I have to remember a month from now I have this like event to attend or whatever it is. And so it's really helpful to have visualization, especially with color and coordination and things like that. That really helps me.
And
no, sorry.
and being so busy, like how, you know, like what has inspired you to take on all this work? Is it like a fear? Is it a motivation? Like
We're
excitement?
getting really deep on this podcast. This is an existential question, I think, that I was not prepared for, but I will definitely think about it for a second. I would have to say that what is motivating me to spread myself into all these different corners and different roles is I really do. I'm really inspired by the fact that this is an international university and not just a local university. The fact that it has taken me in, and in my background, just fun facts for people that don't know, I come from a pastry arts background. So I never obtained a 4-year degree in the United States where I'm from. And so for me, this is an opportunity to get the education that I did not receive, that I chose not to receive in the United States. And so this is almost for me a second chance to approach life from the standpoint that I intended to from the very beginning, which was to go to a university, get an education, and kind of explore life from that perspective. And so for me, this is like an opportunity that I don't want to take for granted. And to be able to study here is a privilege. I am very thankful, especially because it's a very affordable option compared to the United States. And so there's a little something inside of me that's really motivated to try hard and do hard things and work hard for the life that I'm trying to build. And so there's always something inside of me that's saying, you could probably take this on, and if they accept you, then you will give it your all. And if they don't accept you, then that's an opportunity that wasn't intended or something. And so I guess it's just the motivation to make myself proud and also make people that I care about proud of me, like my parents and my family and things like that. So
I know they're proud of you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I think that drives a lot of students is a little bit of that pride of making sure that I feel good about myself, I feel accomplished and things like that.
Yeah. That's really nice. That's
Thank
really
you.
nice. And I just wanted to say something about like the Studo app. I totally agree with you. I'm not a person of calendars. I say the same, like, oh, my brain knows. But with classes, I do need the Studo app.
Yes.
Because our schedule is so irregular.
It's crazy, yeah.
It's different every single week pretty much. And so it's really nice to see active and live updates. And when our teachers cancel classes, move classes around, we get an email, but then you also get to see it in your Studo app really quickly, which is quite nice.
Exactly.
It was funny because like the first month or two, my Studo app didn't work. And so I didn't have that. I had to go on Moodle and check everything physically on the calendar, and Sonia would judge me. She's like, why don't you have Studo? I'm like, it doesn't work.
Fun fact, we figured out why it didn't work. Her phone was not updated like to the recent update. And so her phone was pretty much out of date. And it didn't want to work on her phone because I'm assuming Studo was only working for the iOS system update that was like updated and modern. So once she finally did that, it worked. So
how did you figure it out though? Because I remember you were like, oh, it doesn't work. And they say you just have to figure it out.
It was so random. We were just like making dinner one day and she mentioned like, oh, put another timer on for the rice and like the vegetables we were making. And I was like, I don't have a separate timer option. She's like, did you update your phone? And I'm like, no. So,
And
so I did that. And then afterwards, like, I just randomly was like, I'm going to try Studio again.
Yeah.
'Cause I keep trying every now and then, like, maybe it'll work again. Maybe it'll work. And then I was like, hey.
No, it works. Cool.
What's funny is
By the way, it works.
she literally came to me. She's like, "Oh, guess what? I fixed my Studio app." I was like, "You updated your phone, didn't you?" Like it all clicked and it all came together. It made
my
sense. I'm like,
gosh.
"Oh my goodness!" So that's a lesson for everyone. Update your phones, guys.
Please, yes.
Please. It's important for like bugs and viruses, but also for Studio.
Yeah, but now that I have it, I can help, stay organized, look at my calendar and have it at my fingertips.
Very helpful.
Exactly.
Yeah, very grateful for it.
But this
Yeah.
semester overall has been like, I think, back and forth with the amount of work that we've had. It's like
It's-
sometimes where it's like, oh, there's nothing to do. We can, relax, take
relax.
it easy. And other times it's like, for example, right now we're on break, but we have 3 exams coming up, all in some
Yeah.
difficult subjects. And how are we feeling about it?
Huh, Claudia.
So, for me, I'm still not so worried about it, honestly. Not so stressed about it yet. Yet. I think, the only thing that makes me a little bit worried is that we have one next to the other. Like literally one day we have one test, at the next day another test,
Yeah.
one break of a day, and then at the other day another test.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the only thing that worries me like the most.
Yeah.
Also because accounting for me is a little bit difficult
For everyone, you mean, not just you. It's,
Yeah,
it's,
I know, but
it's testing everyone's patience. I
yeah,
think.
especially because I never liked math. Okay,
No.
never. I have to admit that. I have to be honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it either.
Yeah.
So it is really hard for me. But yeah, I'm trying to mentally prepare myself and go like, you have to start studying since now, because then if I procrastinate, it's horrible. It's
Yeah.
worse. Then I'm too stressed, too anxious, too worried to do any of them, like anything.
Yeah.
Saying, have you started studying?
Not yet. I do have to.
No, but
I'm
you've,
like in my mind, like I have to start studying.
yes, you've highlighted a really good point, and I think that anyone can benefit from that mentality of, well, waiting till last minute, procrastinating is ultimately not going to serve us very well.
No.
Especially with this subject where it's kind of continuous learning, where many people will approach university with this mindset of, okay, let me learn everything really quickly just to survive the exam, and then I don't have to remember it going forward. But if you continuously study, if you continuously learn over a longer period of time, then you commit more of that to your long-term memory. And so I
Yeah.
think that's really a good advice, is to start studying sooner, even if it's
Yeah.
just a little bit every day.
Yeah.
It at least gets you prepared
Exactly.
to do a more intense study session closer to the exam.
I put my ground in 1 hour every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like I try to do 1 hour of study every day.
That's good.
Yeah. Also, I'm giving myself a break because I had yesterday an accounting test already. So I was today giving myself a break. But yeah, I put my ground like in 1 hour.
Yeah.
If I do more, I do more.
Mhm.
If I do less, I try not to.
Yeah.
I try to stay in a consistent 1 hour every day.
Yeah. Keeping yourself accountable is
Yeah.
really disciplined, and it's very difficult, honestly, because
It is.
I frequently will negotiate with myself internally and say, oh,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
as long as you start studying by this time, it'll be fine and you don't have to do it yet. Or,
Yeah.
oh, just make today like a rest day. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that just gets away from you, especially if you start doing it all the time.
All guilty of that. Like I think
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
told myself, okay, I'm gonna have the weekend, and then I'm gonna start on Monday studying, and then I was like, okay, but no, but I have to start the podcast recording. I'll start on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's like a little bit of a negotiating, bargaining every now and then. You're
Yeah.
going through the stages of grief each
Mhm.
time.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but it's quite normal. I think we all go through it, and I think it's really hard to be disciplined. It's really, really hard. It's a thing of you have to take all your will and go like,
Yeah.
I have to do this.
Mhm.
And it's hard. It really is hard. And I don't judge anybody that goes like, oh yeah, I couldn't,
Mm-hmm.
because I know it's not as easy as we can maybe make it sound. Because people always think like, yeah, but you look like you have the discipline already. Like, no, it's also it's also work, and it's also hard for me and for everybody else. It's not just easy, but it is possible to do.
Exactly. And I think that what holds some people back, and I know I'm guilty of it, is there's a part of me that's afraid to know where I'm at in my studying. Is how close to the beginning do I have to start in my studying? And you're worried to see how much work it'll take to get to a place of, okay, I feel comfortable for the exam. And it's that fear of starting, and it's almost easier to put it off and then blame the fact that you had so little time to study on just the timing, rather than accountability for, oh, well, I chose not to begin sooner because of my fears. And so it's a harsh reality where I'm not perfect and no one is. I'm going to make these decisions sometimes that maybe are not the wisest, where I won't start studying sooner, or I will not study hard or long enough. And unfortunately, we're all human, and we're all going to be guilty of it at one point or another, where maybe we prioritize rest or fun or things like that, because yes, we're students and we're here for that, but we also have lives that we deserve to live. Especially we're young, and young people tend to want to have fun and do cool things on the weekends. Like, I definitely had a fully fun weekend this last Saturday and Sunday, and I really am happy that I had that experience, because now I can say, okay, I did the fun thing, I had fun with my friends and my family, and now I can go forward and start studying. But it's when you are living in like a limbo of thinking about what you want to do but not doing it, that you feel like you are too guilty to start or too guilty to not start. And so it kind of takes a little bit of mentally assessing, like, what's stopping you from studying, or what's stopping you from getting those things done on your to-do list, because sometimes it's just starting that is what holds someone back. Like, I will put off writing an email that will take 5 minutes to send to someone that I am in corresponding to, and it will take me days to just be like, okay, I'll write it, I will, I'll do it, and then I'll do it absolutely like the last second. And that's like unnecessary. I could have done that days ago, and that's something that I'm always wrestling with. I think everyone just does not like to start, and that's what stops me most of the time.
Even the stress, when you're stressed about, I have all these things to do for school or work, and then you start to put off other things in your life as well, like I have to do some chores later, and you're like, okay, I need to mop the bathroom floor, and it's like, I'll do it later.
Yeah.
And we were all disciplined enough on Monday to finally get our house chores done. And so once again, sometimes even the house chores seem more desirable to get done than your homework. And so
I agree. I mean, I was this last weekend, we had like a trip with the family I'm staying with, and so I packed, and then when I came back, I just left it there, and it's still there. And I was like yesterday, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it. But then I was like about to start, and I was like, okay, no, I'm too tired. I will do it.
Yeah.
I will do it tomorrow. And now it's tomorrow, and it's still there.
that is the most relatable thing, I think.
I don't know why unpacking is so hard.
It is.
Like, packing is like, okay, I have to pack, and you pack, and that's it. But then unpacking, taking the things out, I'm just like, oh my God, why is this so hard? I don't know.
It's psychological.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I mean, you're our resident psychological expert, Claudia.
More or less, yeah. I started, I could say, 3 years of psychology, and most of the time is just our own mentality of, yeah, maybe I still don't want to go. I don't want to forget this trip already.
Yeah.
Like, I had so much fun. I don't want to unpack everything and like leave it in the past,
because
that
then everything feels like back to normal.
Exactly. And then you're like, oh no, but I was on vacation.
Yeah.
So that could be a reasoning, and it just takes like a lot of I think anyone can kind of know that when you know yourself. When you have some like emotional intelligence, I think that's really helpful for life, because then you can go to yourself like, yes, I'm anxious in this moment, but it's okay. I will get through it. It's okay not to be okay in a moment. It's totally okay. It's totally okay to go like, oh my God, I'm gonna fail. Oh my God. But not to stay stuck there. Like I was told, like, you have to recognize emotions, like let them flow like a river, like from your head to your toes, and then they go away. Yeah. Like not just repress them or deny them, because that's not gonna be helpful.
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel like
go ahead. I was just going to do a quick little plug. If anyone is obviously struggling with these kinds of coping mechanisms or strategies to like break through all of these kind of mental health blockers, the university, KUAS, has a student support center. And so that's something that I feel like not every student, university, student, international or otherwise, is fully aware of and know that they can utilize if they're feeling the weight or the pressure of exam season, or just kind of coping with work and school and being a student in an international sphere. And so that's one thing I think that everyone should know, that there is a student support center at KUAS that is here for you, and you can reach out at any time to try to make an appointment or just see like what workshops they have. And so I think that's something that if you find yourself struggling, do reach out for help with the free services that are available to you.
They also have it in English. Sorry. They also so just a quick, they also have it in English for all of us that are international. So yeah.
I'm guilty in the sense of like, I didn't know about this before today, before you told me that we have this center. So definitely, yes, visit it if you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed. And again, it is okay to feel stressed or overwhelmed sometimes, but don't stay stuck in it. Exactly. So many years, I feel like I was just stuck in it. And even my mom would say like, like you can't just sit there and like, worry about it. You have to, make it an action. You have to try to at least say like, okay, hey, what can I do in this moment?
Yeah, exactly. So, try to get through it, and also not. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say this word wrong, but predispose yourself.
Yeah.
Predispose,
so predispose. So I always forget totally that word. So do not predispose yourself. Do not go like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fail anyway. Because if you keep going like, I'm gonna fail, you will end up failing.
Yep. It's
and
called
anything that you do.
Yeah, it's called the self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. And so just go like, okay, if I try, I can do this. If I put effort in it, I can do it. Do not predispose yourself, because that's not going to be helpful.
And plus, like, Sonia and I know for sure we're anxious people.
Yeah.
I don't know if you are as well.
Yeah, I am.
Three buzzing anxiety bees over here.
And so sometimes it's like you can turn like, apples into oranges and be like, okay, I'm worried about this, so I'm worried about this now, and worried about the future. And you turn into this big over, like, weighing thing on your shoulders, and you just kind of start to like freeze.
The email will feel like the biggest task you've ever had to complete in your life. Going back to that. Oh my gosh.
I'm Sisyphus pushing my boulder up the hill, which is sending an email.
It's my white whale. Oh my goodness.
It is. I totally relate to that, because for me it's horrible. It's horrible to send emails, to do phone calls, to send audio sometimes.
Yep.
For me, all of that sometimes is a little bit too overwhelming.
It is.
And so I totally relate with that. But I think we can agree that to have a balance between work, life, and study. It's like, try like to be prepared to plan, but also not to over plan or over prepare, like to not worry yourself like maybe in 6 months or 5 months. That's, I think, in my opinion, too of a long term. But I think we can agree that we also need time to rest. Definitely. And to take time to rest, to relax, to come back to ourselves, to have time with our friends too. Exactly. But also to have a plan for our activities and our calendars, and to give our best and not predispose ourselves in studying.
Yeah, understand what's important, but also in the sense of don't just sit in your own worries and think about it. Take time to enjoy yourself as well, enjoy life, enjoy experiences of being abroad, of being in Austria, seeing new people, meeting new friends,
Of being a student, enjoying just student life.
Yeah, my colleague and I were talking pretty much on this exact same subject today, and she had said that like your health is one of the most important things that you should not neglect, and that implies not just your physical health but your mental health too. You really, if your brain is not functioning at full capacity because you're being weighed down by these stressors, these anxieties, then you will not be able to put your best foot forward at work, at school, whatever it is. And so you do need to take care of the core. And that sometimes might look like taking a day off from a day that you should have been studying, or whatever it might be, going on a trip if you are able to, doing little things for yourself, of cooking a nice meal, whatever it might be, but taking care of the body, the one body that you have, and making sure that you are not letting it go or neglecting it. So I think that's so important.
It is true.
Definitely.
Saying I think we're all on a similar page, and
Thankfully.
there have been plenty of other students who feel the same way as well. We actually have some comments that we're going to read about students at FH, what the stress they're dealing with, the workload, work, study, life balance, and how they're managing.
Exciting.
Yeah, so
I'm going to start off and read our first one. Okay. Oh, there we go. So our first student says, this semester balancing work and study has been really challenging. I work shifts until 12 o'clock, and this semester we have 6 subjects, most of which involve complicated software and long hours of study. We have classes for 6 hours a day and at least 3 additional hours of assignments. Plus, we have classes throughout the entire week with no free day to properly rest or catch up. The constant pressure of deadlines makes it hard to deeply understand or enjoy the learning process. There's also the added stress of not being able to find internships easily due to language barriers. And in general, job opportunities seem limited. On top of that, the cost of living, like groceries, is quite high, which makes managing everything even more difficult. It is definitely stressful, but there is still some small joys. Beautiful views, meeting international students, and learning something new every day keeps things a little enjoyable and rewarding. I try to manage stress by staying organized, taking small breaks when I can, and trying to remind myself why I'm here in the first place. Overall, I wouldn't say the work-life balance is ideal right now, but I'm doing my best to handle everything one day at a time.
Well, I must say that my heart goes out to them, because that sounds like a really heavy course load that I would really struggle to even maintain myself. And I feel like I definitely have heard a very big variety between classes and degree programs, even, where my schedule, like in my head, is very busy, and I feel like we have some days that are quite long, but then I hear there are some study programs that require like 5 days a week, almost 8-hour days. And I couldn't imagine trying to, especially if you needed to work, trying to fit that into your schedule and your rest time. So, oh my gosh, I really hope that things change for them in their situation, and that they're able to find a little bit more balance. But sometimes you're at the whim of your curriculum, and I'm hoping that maybe in the future there's room for change and a little bit more understanding of the student, because sometimes even if something will take more time, it's better than to cram it all into these big long weeks, because sometimes the brain can only remember and learn so much in one time.
That's true. I mean, it sounds like a really difficult, a little bit of a situation, and we cannot change, as you said, so Sonia, that we cannot change the curriculum. We cannot change that, but I think you still have the small joys of, as she said, meeting international people and making some friends, and maybe enjoying this time of relaxation between these classes. Maybe that also helps. And I totally relate with the finding it hard to find an internship.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Especially because of the language barrier. I think all of us that come from another country, we've experimented this. And so I totally relate with this person. I know it's really hard, and I just want to tell him or tell her, like, just know that at some point it's gonna be fine. It's gonna get better. You will find an internship, maybe not like immediately, but maybe in another time or in another enterprise, or you would get an email from somewhere that you didn't thought about it. So just to stay a little bit positive on that, because I know we all know it's hard.
I mean, they said something similar to what you said of like reminding themselves why they're here. Because so it's like, yes, maybe they feel stressed and all that, which yes, I sympathize with that. And we can't complain sometimes where it's like some weeks we have, you know, busier schedules, but other times it's like we have 2 classes on one day and then another class another day, and then we're done for the week. So having 5 days of classes with 8-hour days, it's got to be very
it's got to be stressful.
But honestly, I guess reminding yourself of why you're here, and also obviously taking time for yourself as well when you can is very important.
And
Definitely.
I think taking into account also that if you need someone, just go to the
support center.
support center. Yeah, definitely go there, because I always say to people, like, if you feel bad and you don't know what to do with it, go and ask for help of someone that is knowledgeable in the subject.
Not everyone has all the tools.
Exactly.
And, I mean, these tools exist for a reason. Is sometimes we need help. Sometimes we need a helping hand, and a professional is really valuable. Of course, friends are incredibly valuable, but sometimes a professional opinion that can guide you through it with proper techniques that are studied and learned, that can be really valuable, especially during exam season, especially during these heavier course loads experiences.
Definitely. So I also have a story, a comment. This one says, this semester has definitely had its ups and downs when it comes to balancing school, work, and everything else going on in life. Some weeks feel manageable, while others feels like I'm just trying to stay afloat. One thing that has helped me a lot is preparing for classes and tests early. If I get things done ahead of time, I don't have to constantly think about them or stress every day. It frees up mental space and gives me kind of a sense of control. Another thing that worked really well for me has been using an actual physical calendar and not just my phone. There's something about seeing everything laid out in front of me that helps me organize my thoughts and time better. When it comes to stress, I think of it like a scale. I'm already at 8 or 9 out of 10. Even something small like a last minute change or a thought conversation can push me over the edge. I've definitely had moments where I felt totally stressed out or even had anxiety attacks just because I let everything build up too much. That's why relaxing and resetting regularly is so important, so the little things don't feel like the end of the world. To help me keep myself balanced, I do things that bring me back to myself, like skincare, listening to music, and dancing in my apartment, taking walks, or going to the gym. These moments of calm and movement help me to stay grounded and remind me that I'm more than just my to-do list. So while it's not always easy, I'm slowly learning how to find that balance and how to protect it.
I would say, first of all, I definitely sympathize with having anxiety attacks over these things. It's like, it can be very overwhelming to the point where it like pushes you over the edge, even something small. And so it's very hard. But obviously, you know, as we said before, like having these times for yourself is very, beneficial as well.
Yeah, I think you're doing great.
Yes.
I think you're doing great.
You're doing great, sweetie.
That self-awareness is so important. The fact that they're able to acknowledge, they're able to kind of view their stress on a scale is maybe a really great way to check in with yourself and your body and say, okay, how am I feeling? What am I capable of accomplishing today with those emotions? Like sometimes, some days we can only send that email, and some days we can maybe do a few hours of studying. So checking in, making sure you're really understanding where you're at, where your mind is at, and being able to visualize the week. Especially, I really liked that they mentioned writing into a calendar physically, because I struggle sometimes, like typing into a phone, super easy for my brain to forget what I just typed. But when you're writing, it's really intentional. It's almost like ritualistic, and it helps stick things into your brain maybe a little bit better, especially if you're able to repeat like a certain note or a certain thing over and over. It really keeps it at the forefront of your mind. And so I think that that's a really good tip for anyone who hasn't maybe has a little bit of experience or not enough experience with organizational planning is to have something physical that you write into, and then maybe being able to eventually copy it into a digital calendar so that you get live updates from your phone, so that it prompts you, oh, you have a meeting in 15 minutes or whatever. So you can have like a multi-step calendar planning arrangement that might be really helpful to organize your thoughts and also make sure that you are organizing your tasks into manageable bite-sized pieces as the time goes on.
And definitely, I like what they said about you're not your schedule. You know, you're not your calendar. Exactly. So it's like, while you can be so busy, it's like, this is not just all of you. All of you is not just every responsibility that you have.
Yep. And
it's more.
It's easy to conflate or relate your self-worth to your success in your schedule, or feeling like, oh, I don't feel good about myself because I'm having a hard time managing it, because I maybe was almost late to a deadline or late to a meeting or forgot something. It's really easy to view yourself through the lens of, am I a good worker, yes or no? That makes me feel like a bad person if I'm not, or a good person if I am. And I think that everyone should separate that persona or mentality, because you're a human being. You deserve to view yourself as a human being, and you deserve to feel like you are not the work that you put out all the time, because we shouldn't value people and their worthiness based on their output. We should just simply value them by the fact that they are human, they're trying, and that is something that I think is really important. And it's a way to fight against that toxic work culture where everyone is so absorbed in being the best kind of worker, the one who stays the latest, the one who works the hardest. But in reality, we should not be comparing and competing in this way. We should definitely have more empathy and sympathy for each other, because obviously we know the work is hard. We're living it. We're experiencing it all together. Yeah. And so being able to view someone through that lens of, okay, you're human first, and you're probably dealing with things, not just school. You have a life, you have family, you have events in your life that are occurring every single day that maybe put you in a bad mood, that maybe made you have a harder time working. We should see that first without just saying, oh, they're just lazy, they're a bad worker. Like, we shouldn't go in with that mentality. So
no, definitely not. Not just go thinking that someone is just not doing the proper thing, because we never know what that person is going through.
Exactly.
Yeah. So to sum it up very short, what you said is just, your value is not measured by your professional achievements. There is obviously a lot more to who you are.
And that's what I struggle with. So I'm currently working through that as we speak.
It is hard. I think we all have experienced that. Also, sometimes I had really bad bosses once.
Me too.
I think we all have.
Yes. Yeah, and they measure your value as a person
by your work.
And we shouldn't do that. That's not how it's supposed to go.
It's important to care about performance, but before you just assume, oh, bad worker, you're fired. Bad worker, you're on probation. Like, have a conversation. Talk with your colleagues. Talk with your supervisor. Like, let's make sure that everyone is on the same page, and not really, assumptions are quite killer, I would say. They can really put an idea in your head that might not be the accurate picture, and you just assume something without knowing, and then you end up in a more conflicting situation before you even talk. So
true.
Yeah. Should I share the next story?
One last
perspective? Amazing. Okay. To me, work/school/life balance is comfortable and satisfactory so far. Maybe it's because I don't have a job yet, and after I get one, everything will change. In the matter of managing everything, I always had a strict set of priorities. Firstly comes my family, then my job, and afterwards studying, and my hobbies in the end. I have quite a lot of experience in studying now, so currently I understand when I should invest more time in it or when I can shift my attention towards other things in my life. I think in FH, it's manageable, at least for an average student at my course. There are also a few ways to save your time for studying, which I have discovered for myself. Instead of burying myself in the textbooks, overflowing my brain with information, and overstressing, it's easy to ask classmates or professor for help, and it would be much faster and more effective. To deal with stress and workload, I try to separate some time for myself at least once in a week, It might seem controversial, but spending hours working on some problem nonstop can be less effective than doing breaks, which you can then spend for your friends and your hobbies, which not only increases your productivity, but it also boosts your mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I think that's
Yeah.
a really good advice.
It's a very positive outlook on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very optimistic. And I like that I'm going to look at what they said really quickly to confirm. I like that they say that it is like scientifically proven that breaks and in these good, happy
Mhm.
moments
Yeah.
can actually increase your productivity when you approach the problem later.
Mhm.
And I know some people that will definitely sit for hours working on one thing, getting really overwhelmed and not feeling like they made that much progress. But when you're having those moments when it's like, oh, this feels really hard, walk away. Go on a walk, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe make a snack. Just get away from it for a moment and come back with a little bit of a boost in your serotonin or your dopamine or whatever endorphins. If you work out, like you can get yourself on a more mentally well and happy level, and then you can approach the problem and you'll be able to look at it with fresh eyes, with a fresh perspective. And that's great advice, I think.
Yeah,
That's a
it's a
really
great
smart
advice.
approach.
Yeah.
I just remember, I don't know, it just came to my mind that also I read that sleeping is
So
super
important. Yes.
to keep like what you studied in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So to sleep, I think I also read that scientifically, like women need more time,
Yes.
need more than 8 hours of sleep, because I always read that the least you should sleep is 8 hours. But also now it's proven that women also need more time. But I think that with 8 hours, 8 hours and a half, it's okay. It's a good
Yeah.
time of sleeping, and it's really important for keeping what you read or learn in your mind.
That is 100% true. It pretty much helps in the process of committing the information that you've learned in the day to commit it to your long-term memory.
Yeah.
So, of course, that sleeping helps kind of organize and process the events of the day. Like it helps us get through things mentally. Maybe you had something quite stressful, but it helps you relieve those stressors.
Yeah.
And like you said, it puts things in your brain for longer as long as you are doing repetition and then getting that rest and making sure that you continuously recall. And so I think that's really important. And we learned that at the beginning of the year, which is really nice. I really appreciated. We had a class, just a short one, about brain-friendly learning.
I remember that.
With the program director for the International Business Management Masters. And he was very insightful and kind of told us that recalling is really important, and talking about it with people as if you're maybe even teaching. Is quite helpful. And sleep. He made sleep a very important topic
thing.
because it is. We really do need sleep. And that's unfortunately one of the first things that we sacrifice as students because we want more time in a day to either have fun, study, or do other things.
I'm saying I'm someone who's very guilty of that. Like, especially at nighttime after I'm done with the day, I'm done with my studies, work, I'll think to myself, okay, this is my time. This is my private moment where I can be on my phone. I can, relax. And then I end up staying up till, super late.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And I think that comes with the fact that in a day, when you've given yourself to your obligations, to your studies, to whatever it is, it's hard to, you feel like you've lost time. You feel like you're trying to reclaim it in the hours that you have.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, instead of viewing sleep as a priority, we view it as more a secondary thing where it's great if I have the sleep, but if I don't, I'll manage. But in reality, the way that we sleep, our sleep health, our sleep hygiene is incredibly important, especially for our brains in the long-term scheme. And so that's something that is, I wish, a higher priority for students, but it's hard to communicate that, especially when your schedule is quite demanding.
Yeah, it is hard.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think we had a great time talking.
Just a nice, we're done.
Sorry, okay.
It's okay. I was saying this was a very nice podcast. Talking about, stress and workload and time management. And obviously there are methods we have that are going to be helpful, and everyone has their own things that work for them. Writing things down, making schedules, taking breaks.
Yeah.
And some people, prefer to just keep their nose down to the grindstone, and if that works for them, that works for them.
Yeah.
I mean, knowing what works for you, I think is really
Mhm.
important.
So it's like communicating with yourself and also, checking in with yourself as well.
Yeah,
It's very
exactly.
If you don't yet know what works for you, it's really good to kind of discover that in yourself, whether you are talking to a professional, speaking with friends that can give you advice. Like I certainly went to as many people as possible to basically be honest and say, I don't know how to manage my schedule. I don't know how to manage my time. Please help me.
Help me.
Depending on, I would love to hear what you have to say. And so as a community, I really believe in like the aspect of community is we can help each other, but it should never be in total sacrifice of your own mental health or your own physical health.
Definitely.
But I do believe in the power of being someone that people can rely on me, and hopefully in turn I can rely on them, and we can work together towards a common goal as well.
Definitely.
Saying, well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you,
so much.
Sonia.
Thank you so much for having me. This is an amazing project, and I'm really excited to be a part of it for this episode.
Definitely. And I hope you in the audience found this episode to be insightful and that you resonated with anything we said, or, you just found it entertaining. Either way. But, go ahead and follow us at our Instagram at betweenclasses_. We'll have a link on the screen. And also you can check out our old podcast. We can link the old link in the comments. So
The last
thank you so much
episode,
for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.